Like I said, these stories are meant to educate us somehow. They're supposed to teach us something. Fairy tales, for example, are meant to teach children something they'll need to know when they grow up. Therefore, storytelling prepares us for life. For example, The Little Mermaid. When I was a kid growing up, the biggest thing in my life was the film of the Walt Disney pictures of the 90s. And I've carried that with me my entire life. Probably more than I should have. But The Little Mermaid, what's The Little Mermaid about? The Little Mermaid is about selflessness. Aladdin is about the strength and greatness that comes from within. Hunchback of Notre Dame is about not judging people by their outward appearance. Something that was totally lost on me as a kid. I remember saying to my dad at the end of the movie, I thought he was going to turn back into a human at the end. My dad was like, no, that's not really the point. The point is he is human and they accept him for who he is. Accept him for who he is, but he's a freak! Not good. Most importantly was The Lion King. A story of that one moment in all our lives when we're forced to grow up. For a lot of us, it happens out of something joyous. Maybe you find the love of your life, or you find it's the birth of a child. But for most of us, it comes out of something tragic. We have to deal with it, and we end up growing in the process. For Simba, his uncle frames him for murder of his own father, and he runs off and meets up with the Flash and the Warhawk and the uppity meerkat, and they sing Hakuna Matata. Wish I could sing that. So let's talk about me. Aww. Let's see another one. Alright, well, let's see one more. Aww. When I was a kid, storytelling was my life. Whether it was something I did at the dinner table to advance the conversation, or whether it was something I did with my toys, or I even wrote a story in my elementary school newspaper one time. It was about a snowman who melted. That was about it. That's it. That was the end of the story. But anyway, storytelling was my life. And I would tell stories that either I would create, or I would love to tell a story that I heard. And one of the most profound stories that ever happened to me was something that let me rephrase that. One of my greatest stories ever told was something that happened to me. I was in elementary school. I was in gym class, actually, a class I always excelled in. And I see. Anyways, a class I always excelled in. And we were all waiting for class to begin, and we were sitting there, sitting all down, 25 of us, Indian style, which, by the way, is a very racist term. Yes, we were all sitting while land was being raped and pillaged. Historical reference, Dan. Anyways, we're all sitting down, and in through the door walks a construction worker who's working on something from outside. He asked my instructor where the bathroom was, and he turned around, and there he saw our young 25 fresh faces, and he realized that he had an audience, so he decided to impart some wisdom. And he said, look at my hands, and he pulled up his hands like this. He said, look at my hands, what I've done with my hands. And his hands were all bandaged and bruised and dirty. He was a working man, a blue-collar man, a little man. And he said, look what I've done with my hands. Don't be like me. With these hands, you could do anything. With these hands, you could move mountains. And I kept that with me for the rest of my life. I knew I could do anything I wanted to in my life, in this life. I could move mountains. Around that time in my life was when a man came into my life. And his name was Steven Spielberg. By the television, of course. I didn't know what a director was, but I knew in the simplest terms. He was the storyteller, the teller of the tale. Teller of such fantastical tales that engrossed my imagination. They were, and I'm sure any filmmaker my age would tell you that they are the films that made them want to be filmmakers, because he gets you when you're young. And the films of Steven Spielberg really spoke to me because of one thing, is that he wants you to see, he wants you to look at things. There are all these shots in Steven Spielberg movies of characters coming into light and light being shown on them. And then these really long shots of characters just looking off past the camera for long periods of time. And he wants us to see things, whether they're the awe, the wonder of dinosaurs brought back to life, or the horrors and atrocities of the Holocaust. Here's a little piece I put together, so take a look.
How'd you do this? I'll show you.